Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the observation deck of Earth's space station Freedom, watching the alien ship approach. The massive vessel glowed with a soft blue light, moving slowly and carefully to show it meant no harm. Do-hyun had trained for this moment for 15 years, but nothing could have truly prepared him for humanity's first contact with aliens. "Sir, the alien delegation is ready to dock," Lieutenant Jae-yun Park reported, standing straight and tall beside him. Her hand rested nervously on her standard-issue laser pistol, a habit she had developed during her years of service. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's go welcome our guests," Do-hyun said, turning away from the window. He walked through the brightly lit corridors of the space station, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. The docking bay was filled with both military personnel and civilian diplomats. Everyone held their breath as the airlock door slowly opened. Through it walked three tall, blue-skinned beings. Their leader, who had introduced himself earlier as Ambassador Xith, wore flowing robes covered in strange patterns that seemed to move on their own. "Captain Kim," Xith said in perfect English, thanks to their translation devices. "On behalf of the Stellar Commonwealth, we thank you for this welcome." The ambassador's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that Do-hyun would later learn meant respect. The meeting went well at first. Both sides shared basic information about their cultures and technologies. The aliens were impressed by how quickly humans had developed space travel, but something else caught their attention even more. During a tour of the station's training facility, Lieutenant Park noticed the strange weapon one of the alien guards carried. It was a sleek, silver device that looked nothing like human weapons. "What's that?" she asked, her eyes lighting up with interest. "It looks amazing." The alien guard, named Krev, looked surprised at her enthusiasm. "This is a Mark 7 plasma conductor. It's one of our most advanced defensive tools. It takes our soldiers 3 months of training to use it properly." Jae-yun's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Can I try it? It reminds me of that new gaming system that came out last month, the one with the neural interface." The aliens looked at each other in confusion, but Ambassador Xith nodded slowly. "If Captain Kim permits it, you may examine the weapon." Do-hyun considered for a moment, then agreed. He trusted Jae-yun's skills, and this could be a good way to build trust between their species. Krev carefully handed the weapon to Jae-yun, starting to explain its complex control system. But Jae-yun was already turning it over in her hands, treating it like a new toy she couldn't wait to try out. "Oh, I get it," she said happily. "The energy flow control is just like adjusting graphics settings in ultra-reality games. And this targeting system," her fingers moved quickly over the weapon's surface. "It's basically like that new haptic feedback controller, just way more expensive and cool." The aliens watched in shock as Jae-yun quickly figured out not just the basic functions, but even some advanced features of the weapon. Within 5 minutes, she was handling it like she had owned it for years. "This is incredible," she said, aiming at a training target. "The response time is amazing. It's like playing Stellar Warriors 5, but with much better equipment." She fired the weapon, and the plasma bolt hit the target dead center. Then she did it again, and again, each shot perfect. The aliens' jaws dropped, literally, as their species had hinged lower faces. This is impossible," Krev whispered. "Even our best soldiers need weeks just to hit a target consistently." Ambassador Xith stepped forward, all 4 eyes focused intently on Jae-yun. "Lieutenant Park, how did you master this weapon so quickly?" Jae-yun looked confused. "Master it? I'm just playing with it. It's like any other cool new tech. You just need to get a feel for it. Though I have to say, this is way more fun than my new home entertainment system." Do-hyun watched the scene with growing interest. He had seen this before. Humans treating complex military equipment like expensive toys, and somehow performing better because of it. But he had never realized how unique this ability might be. Ambassador Xith turned to Do-hyun, speaking in a low voice. "Captain, is this normal for humans?" Do-hyun thought about the young soldiers in training, always comparing new weapons to their favorite games. He thought about how quickly humans adapted to new technology by treating it like entertainment. Yes, he answered honestly. We tend to learn things faster when we're having fun with them. Is that not common among other species? The ambassador's skin changed color slightly, a sign of strong emotion. Captain Kim, I believe we have much to discuss. The Stellar Commonwealth would be very interested in learning more about this unique human trait. As they continued their tour, Do-hyun noticed the aliens watching every human they passed with new interest. Lieutenant Park had unknowingly demonstrated something important about humanity: their ability to master any technology by approaching it with enthusiasm and treating it like an entertaining challenge. Later that evening, after the aliens had returned to their ship, Do-hyun sat in his office writing his report. How could he explain what had happened? How could he describe humanity's gift for turning weapons into toys and somehow becoming more effective because of it? His computer screen showed a message from Stellar Commonwealth High Command. They wanted to conduct formal testing of this human ability. Do-hyun smiled, thinking of how his soldiers would react. They would probably treat the whole thing like a giant video game tournament. And somehow, he knew that was exactly why they would succeed. Looking out his office window at the alien ship, Do-hyun realized that humanity had just proven itself special in a way nobody had expected. Not through superior technology or military might, but through their unique ability to find joy and play in everything they did, even in the deadliest weapons of war. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if they too were curious about what would happen next. Humanity's first contact had revealed something extraordinary, not about the aliens, but about themselves. And this was just the beginning. Lieutenant Park's voice came over the intercom. Captain, you won't believe this. The aliens just sent over technical specifications for 5 more of their weapons. They want to see how quickly we can learn them. It's like getting early access to a new game. Do-hyun couldn't help but laugh. Trust humans to treat an important military and diplomatic event like a product launch party. But that, he was starting to realize, might be humanity's greatest strength. Tell them we'll be happy to test their weapons, he replied. And Lieutenant, try not to have too much fun. No promises, sir, Jae-yun answered cheerfully. These are better than any toys I've ever had. As Do-hyun finished his report, he added one final note. The aliens have discovered what we've known all along. Humans can master anything if they're having fun doing it. We don't just adapt to new technology, we play with it. And somehow, that makes all the difference. Major Han-gil Choi stood in the massive testing chamber of the Stellar Commonwealth's military research facility. The room sparkled with advanced technology that made Earth's best equipment look like children's toys. But that thought only made him smile. After all, treating weapons like toys was exactly why they were here. Your team has 1 hour to learn each weapons system, the alien instructor, Senior Weapons Master Kex, announced. His tone suggested he didn't expect much success. We will begin with basic plasma rifles. Sergeant Naeum Lee picked up one of the rifles, her eyes shining with excitement. Look at this beauty, she exclaimed. The balance is perfect. It's like that limited edition gaming controller I got last month. The other members of the human team gathered around, each taking a weapon. They handled the alien guns with a mix of respect and childlike wonder that made the watching aliens shift uncomfortably. The targeting system is neural linked, Kex began, but Naeum cut him off with a delighted gasp. Oh, it's just like that new virtual reality setup. She closed her eyes for a moment, connecting with the weapon systems. You think about where you want to shoot, and it adjusts automatically. That's so cool. Han-gil watched as his team members quickly figured out the weapon's features, treating each discovery like finding an Easter egg in a new game. The aliens' expressions grew more amazed with each passing minute. Wait until you see this, technical specialist Dong Hyuk-yoon called out. He had already discovered an advanced feature that even Kex hadn't mentioned. If you think about multiple targets at once, it can split the beam. It's exactly like multi-target mode in Space Warriors Ultimate. Within 30 minutes, half the allocated time, every human in the team was hitting complex moving targets with impressive accuracy. They had even started competing with each other, keeping score like it was an arcade game. Highest score buys dinner, Ne Young shouted, hitting 3 targets in rapid succession. Kex turned to Hangil, his facial tentacles twitching with confusion. Major Choi, is this how humans normally train with new weapons? More or less, Hangil replied, watching his team with pride. We find that people learn faster when they're enjoying themselves. The next test involved heavy artillery, a massive cannon that usually required a 3-person alien crew and weeks of training. The human team treated it like a multiplayer game console. This is just like that co-op mission in Galactic Siege, Corporal Sunwoo Park exclaimed, quickly figuring out the targeting controls. Ne Young, you handle the power settings like Player 2, and I'll manage targeting like Player 1. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans mastered in hours what took their soldiers months to learn. But the real surprise came when the team started improving the weapon's performance. You know, Ne Young said thoughtfully, adjusting some settings on her rifle, if you modify the power distribution like adjusting graphics settings, you can get 15% more efficiency. She demonstrated, achieving results that made Kex's jaw drop. That's not in the manual, he stammered. Sometimes the best features aren't in the manual, she replied with a grin. Any gamer knows that. By the end of the day, the human team had mastered every weapon system presented to them. They had even started giving the weapons nicknames and decorating them with small personalized marks, something that horrified the aliens but seemed to make the weapons work even better in human hands. Hangil received an urgent message from Commonwealth High Command. They wanted to expand the testing program immediately. More importantly, they wanted to understand how humans could so easily master technology that other species struggled with for months. That evening, as his team relaxed in their quarters, Hangil overheard them comparing the day's experiences to their favorite games and entertainment systems. Ne Young was already making plans to customize her plasma rifle's interface to make it more user-friendly. Major, a voice called. Hangil turned to see Ambassador Xith entering the room. The ambassador's skin had taken on a deep purple hue, a sign of deep thought among his species. We've been analyzing your team's performance, Xith said. It's unprecedented. But what truly fascinates us is how your people treat these deadly weapons as if they were toys. Hangil suggested. Entertainment systems. Yes. Xith's skin rippled with excitement. In all our history, we've never encountered a species that approaches warfare this way. It should make you less effective. And yet, Hangil thought about it. Maybe that's exactly why it works. When you're playing a game, you're not afraid to experiment, to push boundaries. You learn faster because you're having fun. A commotion from the testing range interrupted their conversation. They rushed to see what was happening. Ne Young and her team had set up an impromptu competition, complete with a scoring system displayed on their tablets. New high score, Ne Young shouted, executing a perfect shot with a weapon that aliens took years to master. Beat that, Sunwoo. Xith watched the scene with all 4 eyes wide open. We've been approaching this all wrong, he muttered. We've been teaching these weapons as instruments of war, but your people see them as the ultimate gaming setup. Hangil finished with a smile. Though I have to admit, these are much better than anything we have back home. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. A junior alien officer rushed in, his skin pale with worry. Ambassador, we've detected unauthorized ships entering the system. The energy signatures match the Voidborn. Hangil noticed how the aliens tensed at that name. I assume these Voidborn aren't friendly. They are the greatest warriors in known space, Xith said grimly. Or at least, they were until now. Ne Young stepped forward, still holding her customized plasma rifle. "Well then," she said with a grin, "looks like we get to test these weapons in a real game scenario." "This isn't a game, Sergeant," Sith said sharply. Na Young's expression grew serious, but her eyes still sparkled with excitement. "With all due respect, Ambassador, everything's a game if you know how to play it right. And humans, we play to win." Hangil watched as his team quickly gathered their weapons, already discussing strategies like they were planning a raid in an online game. He should have been worried, but somehow he knew they would succeed. After all, humans had just turned the galaxy's deadliest weapons into the universe's most expensive gaming system, and nobody played games better than humans. Commander Taiwan Kang sat in the dimly lit Strategic Command Center of the Stellar Commonwealth's primary defense station. The holographic display showed thousands of red dots approaching from multiple directions. Each dot represented a Voidborn warship. "They're attacking both Earth and Commonwealth space simultaneously," reported his alien advisor, Strategic Master Ven. "Our intelligence suggests they fear humanity's weapon mastery abilities." Taiwan studied the display carefully. The Voidborn ships moved with perfect precision, like pieces in a complex strategy game. That thought made him smile despite the serious situation. "Send me everything we have on Voidborn weapon systems," he requested, his fingers already moving across his data tablet. "If they're so worried about us mastering weapons, let's give them something to really worry about." The data streamed in quickly. Taiwan's eyes lit up as he reviewed the technical specifications. These Voidborn ships, their weapon systems are even more advanced than Commonwealth technology. "Yes," Ven confirmed grimly. "That's why they've remained undefeated for so long. No other species can master their captured technology quickly enough to use it against them." Taiwan laughed softly. "No other species treats advanced weapons like expensive gaming systems." He turned to his communication officer. "Get me Major Choi's team. Tell them to bring their game faces." Within an hour, the command center was filled with both human and Commonwealth officers. Nayambli stood at the tactical display, her eyes shining with excitement as she studied the Voidborn weapon specifications. "Look at these neural interface patterns," she said eagerly. "They're just like the new ultra-reality gaming headsets, but with way better resolution. We could totally work with this." The Commonwealth officers watched in amazement as the humans gathered around the technical data like children examining the features of a new gaming console. They pointed out patterns, discussed possible combinations, and even started planning improvement modifications. Their main battleship's targeting system, technical specialist Dong Cook observed, "It's basically a more complex version of Galaxy Commander Elite. If we approach it the same way." The station shook suddenly. The Voidborn fleet had moved into attack range. "First wave incoming," Ven announced tensely. "Estimate 300 ships in this attack group." Taiwan watched the tactical display, noting how the enemy ships moved. Their formation reminded him of something. "It's just like the enemy AI patterns in Strategic Space Conquest 4, he muttered. Then his eyes widened. "That's it." He turned to his team. "They're using standard gaming algorithms. Their entire battle strategy follows classic game design patterns." His fingers flew across the tactical console as he explained. "Look, their ships move in the same patterns as high-level game AI. They're predictable if you know what to look for." The Commonwealth officers looked confused, but the humans immediately understood. They had all spent countless hours playing similar games, learning to recognize and counter these patterns. "Commander," Nayum called out suddenly, "we just finished analyzing their main weapon system. It's amazing, like the most advanced gaming setup ever made. Their targeting computers have full neural integration, multiple simultaneous target tracking, and even predictive trajectory mapping." "Can we use it?" Taiwan asked. Nayum grinned. "Give us an hour. It's just like learning a new game controller. Complicated at first, but once you get the feel for it." "You have 30 minutes, Taiwan replied. "The Voidborn will be in optimal firing range by then." The next half hour was a blur of activity. The human team worked frantically, treating the deadly serious situation like the world's most intense gaming session. They quickly mastered the basic controls of captured Voidborn weapons, then started discovering features that even the Voidborn themselves hadn't fully explored. You can overclock their targeting system by treating it like a graphics card, Dong Hyuk announced excitedly. 30% better performance if you know the tricks. The station shook again as the first Voidborn ships opened fire. The Commonwealth's defensive shields held, but barely. Enemy ships are launching their main assault, Ven reported. We've never seen them deploy this many ships at once. Taiwan looked at his team. Ready to play. Nayoung patted her newly mastered Voidborn weapon control system. This is better than any gaming setup I've ever had. Let's show them how humans play. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The Voidborn attacked with their usual perfect precision, expecting an easy victory against inferior forces. Instead, they found themselves facing humans who had not only mastered their weapons but improved upon them. The human defenders treated the space battle like the ultimate multiplayer game. They called out enemy positions using gaming terms, coordinated their attacks like raid parties in an online game, and even kept track of their scores. Target cluster at Sector 7, Nayoung shouted, just like the bonus round in Stellar Strike Force. The Commonwealth officers watched in amazement as the humans turned what should have been a hopeless battle into something that almost looked fun. The Voidborn ships, for all their advanced technology, couldn't adapt to the unpredictable way humans use their own weapons against them. They're falling back, Ven announced after 2 hours of intense fighting. His voice contained awe and disbelief in equal measure. The mighty Voidborn are retreating. The command center erupted in cheers. The human team members congratulated each other, comparing scores and discussing their favorite moments like they had just finished an intense gaming session. Taiwan stood quietly, watching the enemy ships disappear into hyperspace. He knew this wasn't over. The Voidborn would be back, probably with even more advanced weapons. But somehow, that thought didn't worry him. After all, to humans, more advanced weapons just meant better toys to play with. Commander, Ven approached him, his skin showing patterns of deep respect. How do your people do it? How do you master these weapons so quickly? Taiwan thought about all the hours humans spent playing games, learning patterns, mastering complex controls just for fun. We don't see them as weapons, he explained. We see them as the ultimate gaming experience. And humans will spend endless hours mastering anything if they're having fun doing it. As if to prove his point, he could hear Nayoung in the background, already planning modifications to improve the captured Voidborn weapons. If we adjust the power coupling like overclocking a gaming system. The stars shone brightly through the command center's viewport, witnesses to humanity's unique approach to warfare. The Voidborn had retreated, but they would return. And when they did, they would find that humans had turned their dreaded weapons into the galaxy's most expensive gaming systems. And humans never got tired of playing with new toys. Colonel Eugene Ryu stood before the Combined Military Council of Earth and the Stellar Commonwealth. The large chamber was filled with representatives from both civilizations, all gathered to hear her proposal for dealing with the Voidborn threat. The Voidborn will return, Eugene began, her voice clear and confident. Our victory in the last battle has only made them more determined. But I have a plan. She activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images of various alien weapon systems floated in the air, rotating slowly. We need to create a special team, she continued. A group that combines Commonwealth knowledge with humanity's unique ability to master any weapon system. And I know exactly who should lead our technical division. The doors opened, and technical specialist Sung Min-buk walked in. He carried what looked like a modified alien neural interface helmet, similar to the latest gaming headsets from Earth. 2 weeks ago, Eugene explained, Specialist Bake managed to master an entire Voidborn battleship's weapon system in under 6 hours. He did it by treating the ship's neural interface like a new virtual reality gaming system. Sung Min stepped forward, holding up the modified helmet. The Voidborn neural interface was good, he said with a smile. But I made it better. I used techniques from competitive gaming to improve response times by 40%. The Commonwealth representatives murmured in amazement. One of them, Admiral Zelks, raised a hand. How is this possible? Our best engineers have studied Voidborn technology for years. That's exactly the problem, Sung Min replied. You study it, we play with it. He put on the helmet to demonstrate. When you treat complex technology like an expensive toy, you stop being afraid of breaking it. You experiment. You try new things. You have fun. The holographic display changed to show recordings from the recent battle. Human operators were shown mastering and improving Voidborn weapons in the middle of combat, treating the deadly serious situation like an intense gaming session. Our plan is simple, Yujin continued. We will create a joint strike force, Commonwealth knowledge combined with human creativity. We'll take their best weapons and turn them into our favorite toys. She turned to another screen showing the latest intelligence reports. The Voidborn are gathering their forces for a major assault. They're bringing weapons we've never seen before. But you know what humans love more than anything? New gaming systems, Sung Min answered with a grin. The more complex, the better. The council chamber filled with discussion. Some members looked worried, others excited. Yujin waited patiently until Admiral Zelk spoke again. This goes against everything we know about military training, he said, but we cannot argue with the results. What do you need to make this happen? Yujin smiled. Give me 3 weeks and the best equipment you have. We'll turn it all into the galaxy's most expensive gaming setup. The next 3 weeks were intense. Yujin and Sung Min gathered a team of the best human gamers and weapons specialists. They transformed a Commonwealth battleship into what looked more like a giant gaming center. The main bridge is now set up like a multiplayer arena, Sung Min explained to Yujin as they toured the modified ship. We've integrated Commonwealth targeting systems with human gaming interfaces. The whole ship can be controlled like the world's most advanced video game. The human crew members had decorated their stations with gaming references. Some had even given their weapon systems nicknames. The Commonwealth observers found this shocking, but they couldn't argue with the results. Look at this, Sung Min said excitedly, showing Yujin a captured Voidborn weapon. Their quantum targeting matrix is amazing. It's like having unlimited graphics processing power. We've already improved its efficiency by treating it like an overclocked gaming rig. Yujin watched as her crew trained, turning the deadliest weapons in the galaxy into their personal gaming systems. They competed for high scores, shared tips like gamers sharing cheat codes, and constantly found ways to improve the weapon's performance. The Voidborn think their technology is too advanced for us, she said to Sung Min. They don't understand that to humans. Advanced technology just means better toys. Suddenly, the ship's alarms began blaring. A young officer rushed in, her face serious but her eyes excited. Colonel, our long-range scanners have detected the Voidborn fleet. They're coming in force, more ships than we've ever seen before. Yujin looked at her crew. They weren't afraid. Instead, they looked eager, like gamers about to start a new challenge. Well, she said, looks like we get to test our new gaming setup sooner than expected. She turned to Sung Min. Are we ready? He adjusted his modified neural interface helmet. Ready? This is the most advanced gaming system ever created. The only question is, are the Voidborn ready for us? The massive view screen showed the approaching Voidborn fleet. Their ships were darker and more menacing than before, bristling with new weapons. But Yujin wasn't worried. She watched as her crew took their stations, treating their weapon systems like favorite gaming controllers. Remember, she announced to her crew, this isn't just about winning a battle. We're about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate humanity's ability to master any technology. The crew responded with enthusiasm, already checking their high scores from previous engagements and preparing to set new records. As the Voidborn fleet drew closer, Yujin couldn't help but smile. The enemy was about to learn an important lesson. Give humans any weapon, no matter how advanced, and they'll turn it into a toy. And nobody played better than humans. All stations, she commanded, game on. Admiral Minho Quan stood on the bridge of the Earth Commonwealth flagship, Final Boss, watching as the massive Voidborn fleet approached. The name of the ship had been chosen by the crew, who saw this battle as the ultimate level of the galaxy's most expensive game. Enemy fleet composition: 5,000 ships, reported Tactical Officer Nayoung Lee, her fingers dancing across her modified control panel. They'd brought their newest weapons. Everything we've seen before, plus some really interesting new toys. Minho nodded, noting how his crew's excitement grew at the mention of new weapons. Where other species would feel fear, humans felt only curiosity and eagerness to try out new technology. Their flagship is carrying something big, Sung Min Buk announced from his technical station. Energy readings are off the charts. It's like nothing we've seen before. Good, Minho replied. I was worried this would be too easy. He turned to his communication officer. Signal the fleet. Tell them to prepare for the biggest gaming session of their lives. The combined Earth Commonwealth fleet was smaller than the Voidborn Armada, but every ship had been modified by human technicians. Standard weapon systems had been transformed into what looked more like advanced gaming setups, complete with high-score displays and performance metrics. The Voidborn struck first. Their flagship fired a massive energy beam that could tear through normal shields like paper. But the humans had been practicing. Incoming special attack. Nayoung called out excitedly, just like the boss battles in Stellar Warrior Ultimate. Activating countermeasures now. The human operators, treating their defensive systems like a cooperative multiplayer game, worked together perfectly. They redirected the energy, transformed it, and sent it back at the enemy fleet. Perfect parry. Someone shouted. New high score for energy reflection. The Voidborn fleet seemed to pause in confusion. They had expected their new weapon to end the battle immediately. Instead, the humans had turned it into part of their game. They're launching their new fighter squadrons, Sung Min reported. The neural interface on these ships is incredible. It's like the most advanced VR system ever made. Minho watched as the enemy fighters approached. They moved with perfect precision, their pilots linked directly to their ships through advanced technology. But that just made his crew more excited. Beginning fighter interception, Nayoung announced. This is just like that new space combat game, but with much better graphics. The space around the fleets turned into a brilliant display of light and energy as thousands of ships engaged in combat. The Voidborn fought with their usual perfect precision. The humans fought like they were playing the most intense game ever created. Their flagship is powering up something big, Sung Min warned. Some kind of super weapon. The energy readings are amazing. The Voidborn flagship split open, revealing a weapon that could destroy entire planets. Its surface glowed with strange symbols and pulsing energy lines. Now that, Minho said with a smile, looks like the ultimate gaming peripheral. He turned to his crew. Who wants to try it out? Already working on it, sir, Nayoung replied. Her fingers flew across her console as she analyzed the weapon's control patterns. It's complex, but the base code is similar to other Voidborn systems. Give me 5 minutes to crack it. The enemy super weapon fired, sending a massive wave of energy toward the Earth Commonwealth fleet. But the humans were ready. They had spent weeks practicing for exactly this kind of moment, treating every battle simulation like a gaming tournament. Implementing Countermeasures version 2.0, Sung Min announced proudly. I improved the response algorithms by treating them like game engine optimization. The energy wave hit their shields, but instead of destroying them, it was absorbed, redirected, and transformed. The humans had turned the deadliest weapon in the galaxy into part of their defense system. Their weapon is connected to their entire fleet's network, Ne-Young reported suddenly. It's like one huge gaming server. And you know what happens when you get admin access to a server. Min-Ho smiled. Do it. The next few minutes were amazing to watch. The human operators, treating the Voidborn's super weapon like a hackable gaming system, managed to reverse its controls. The enemy fleet watched in horror as their greatest weapon turned against them. I can't believe they didn't patch this exploit, Ne-Young said, grinning as she worked. It's like they never thought anyone would treat their super weapon like a moddable game. The Voidborn fleet began to retreat, but it was too late. Their own weapon, now under human control, disabled their ships one by one. Not destroying them, but shutting down their systems in what one crew member called the ultimate spawn trap. Enemy flagship is powering down, Sung Min reported. They're sending a transmission. The main screen lit up, showing the Voidborn fleet commander. The alien looked both angry and confused. How? The commander demanded. How did you master our greatest weapon so quickly? Min-Ho stood up, smiling. You made one simple mistake, he explained. You gave humans access to advanced technology. To us, your deadly weapons are just really expensive toys. And humans never stop playing until they've mastered every feature. The battle ended shortly after that. The Voidborn fleet surrendered, their undefeated record broken by a species that treated their most advanced weapons like gaming systems. Later, as Min-Ho wrote his report, he couldn't help but laugh at the situation. The Voidborn had spent centuries developing the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. They had made them complex, deadly, and incredibly advanced. And that was exactly why they lost. Because to humans, the more advanced a weapon was, the more it was like a brand new gaming system, and humans would spend countless hours mastering every aspect of a new toy, just for the fun of it. Admiral, Ne-Young called from her station. The Commonwealth is asking if we want to help them develop new defense systems. Tell them yes, Min-Ho replied. But first, ask them one question. How do they feel about turning their military technology into the galaxy's biggest multiplayer game? The stars seemed to shine brighter that day, as if they too were celebrating humanity's unique victory. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never give humans advanced technology unless you're ready to see it turned into the universe's most expensive toy. And humans always played to win.